What is going on, Niner fans? We got some news. We got a lot of news to talk about. The 49ers are always a team that has a lot of news, and today is no different. We had more injury updates. As you know, you saw the post. Injury updates. I mean, at this point, what else is new? The 49ers, they go through practice, they go through a game, and somebody's going to get hurt. It's laughable. It's actually laughable. What's up, man? How the heck's everybody doing? You guys good? It's a hot one today, says Rick. Dude, it is so hot outside. Jesus, I'm glad I didn't have my home health job today where I drive to the patients' homes. I went to the clinic. I got into the car and I had to come back home and pick up some things and then grab my daughter. Dude, I was so hot. I didn't even want to get back in the car when I came back home for a brief minute. It was so hot. So, yeah, it's a scorcher out there. But let's get into it. Niners, I hope everybody's doing good. Rick says at this point, Raj is getting signed to wide receiver 1. Yeah, you don't want me. Let's see. It's crazy. We woke up, right? We woke up this morning and there was injury news for the 49ers. Can you actually believe it? 49ers wide receiver Russell Gage, he was believed to have suffered a sprained MCL and he's expected to miss 7 to 10 days per Adam Schefter. I mean, for a sprained MCL, that's pretty quick recovery. So the good news is he's going to recover pretty fast, right? But that news was this morning. Again, that was like the first thing I wake up to. Adam Schefter tweets this like at 5 a.m. in the East Coast, which is, for them it was like 8 a.m., but for us it's 5. I'm sleeping. I wake up and I see this news. I'm like, are you actually kidding me? Are you kidding me? This man... I couldn't believe it. He has a sprained MCL, and he was doing good for this 49er team in training camp and preseason. Russell Gage is probably going to make it to the roster because of all these injuries. But then later on KNBR, John Lynch did talk about it, and he says he expects Russell Gage to be able to play week 1. So it sounds like he's probably going to make the roster, and he's going to be available to play week 1. But come on, it's just like... It's crazy. They had maybe 7 receivers suited up today for practice. These last couple of weeks, they haven't even had enough receivers to do one-on-ones. It's actually crazy. The fact that I woke up and that was the news of the morning, I was like, what? Are you kidding me? And then there was a joke, we made. Might as well get Jerry Rice at this point. He could probably go out there suited up, come out of retirement. It's crazy. So Skyy Moore passed his physical. He's officially on the Niners. You need more depth. You lose Justin Gage. You bring in Skyy Moore. You still might need more receivers, which is crazy. But Skyy Moore, he'll be rocking number 6, and he'll be with the Niners, and we'll see what happens. I mean, it's a good opportunity for him, as we talked about yesterday when the trade came. I mean, he's a young guy. Second chance. Sometimes you need a second chance. And John Lynch mentioned that today on KNBR. Sometimes you just need a new scenery, a new home, and maybe he can help out and be more productive. But a lot of people yesterday were saying, hey, why didn't they just wait for the Chiefs to cut him? He probably would have got cut. But the thing is, then you would have had to wait through waivers, or not cut, but waived him. Then you would have had to go through waivers and wait, and you may not have got him. And if you really want the guy, you go and make a trade. And again, it's not like they traded the world for him. It was a pick swap, 6th, 7th round pick, whatever. And they get their guy. So, again, they just need depth, man. They got a lot of wide receiver issues. Speaking of wide receivers, they asked John Lynch today specifically if trading for Skyy Moore was a message for Jawan Jennings. They asked him. They said, is the trade for Skyy Moore a message for Jawan Jennings? And Kyle Shanahan said, no, we love Jawan. We're getting close to the season. Players got to practice, but if they're not healthy enough to do it, they can't. He says, that's where we're at with Jawan right now. We're getting there. We got to get out of there on that field. We'll continue to let that thing unfold. He said, Jawan's a big part of this team, and we're looking forward to when he's back out there again. Hopefully that's soon. So he says it wasn't a message. He's not trying to send any messages to Jawan Jennings. They want him to get healthy. They need him on the field. But it's basically John Lynch saying, yeah, we need him out there. We pray that he's better. We need him. We also need to figure out this contract situation. But he's basically telling us that we didn't get him because we're trying to send a message to Jawan Jennings. I mean, you never know. Maybe a lot of people did think, oh, they got this to put some pressure on Jennings. But no, they absolutely just needed some bodies. So that's what Kyle said about, or sorry, John Lynch said about Jawan Jennings. I don't know. I keep thinking about Kyle today. 49ers, John Lynch also talked about Brandon Aayuk. He says he's recovered well. I think we feel comfortable saying he's not going to be there week 1. And then it'll probably be some time after that. He did mention that people got to realize it's been a very, very intense recovery for him. It wasn't just, a clean ACL tear. It was the ACL, the meniscus, the MCL. So there's a lot of damage in there, and it's going to take time to recover. And he did mention that he is recovering well, but obviously he's not going to be back anytime week 1. We know Kyle a few weeks ago said probably week 6. So, I mean, it's still the same thing. John Lynch doesn't want to give a definitive timeline, and I think that's kind of where we're at with, Brandon Aayuk. So looks like they're not trying to trade, Jawan Jennings. They're not putting pressure on him. They know Brandon Ayuk's recovering well. He looks eager to get out there, but they're still not going to force him to come back too early. And as we mentioned, Russell Gage is expected to play week 1 against the Seahawks. Now, John Lynch. Oh my God, I am exhausted today. Maybe that's what it is. John Lynch was talking about Robbie Chosen and the possibility of him making the 53-man roster today, right? He says that Robbie has done a nice job. He's been a welcome surprise. He still can get after it. He says these guys wear GPS things on their back, and after every practice, he clocks some of the fastest speeds we have out there. He said he's starting to make some plays. You saw it at the end of the Raiders game, but we see it out here at practice. As long as he continues to do that, there's a place for him. So he's worked hard. Like, the thing about Robbie Chosen is he's actually worked tremendously hard. He's turned himself around. A couple of years ago, he was, definitely a head case type guy, but he's turned him around. And I feel like Robbie Chosen has worked hard, right? He's trying his best to make this roster. And I asked a question earlier. I said, do you guys think that Robbie Chosen makes his 53-man roster? He actually might, just because of the injuries. If you think about it, right? Russell Gage, he's supposed to be there for week 1, but he's got the MCL. Jawan Jennings, the calf. Brandon Aayuk, he's going to be on PUP. We got Ricky Persolo, who's healthy. We got Jordan Watkins, high ankle sprain. You got Jacob Cowing, who's got the hamstring injury. You brought in Skyy Moore, okay. And you got Isaiah Hodgins. You got Tariq Owens. You have Junior Bergeron, and now you have who do we just mention? Robbie Chosen. Like, he actually has a chance to make this roster. Malik Turner, Malik Knowles. I don't think either one of those two guys make it. Robbie's working hard, and this final preseason game is a really good opportunity for him to say, hey, man, I could be worth that receiver, that 6th receiver. They might need to carry 7 receivers on week 1 because of the way the roster's set up and all the injuries. And I don't know, wide receivers in tough position. But Robbie Chosen, he got a lot of respect from John Lynch. He's working hard, and he says he's still one of the fastest receivers out there on the team, with the GPS monitoring, tracking. So, yeah, I said John Lynch, not Kyle Shanahan media. I don't know why I keep calling him. I don't know why I keep talking about Kyle Shanahan. It's John Lynch. Sorry. Let's see. What's up, Big Mike? What's up, my man, Mike Silva? What's your favorite Indian dish? And have you been to India? I've been to India so many times when I was a young buck. Went back for family weddings. A lot of stuff. My favorite India dish that's tough, man. I like a lot. I mean, obviously, man, that's tough. I don't know. It's a good one. I mean, of course, some good butter chicken and naan always goes a long way. Some tandoori chicken, man, that's good stuff. Sai bhaji, oh man, you can give me some dosa and like some potato bhaji. That's good stuff, man. I like it all. I'm not picky, but those are probably top tier. Some good chicken curry, man. Chicken tikka masala is always a good option. I don't know. There's just too many good. I can't pick one favorite dish, man. Curry is good though. We are so screwed, says AJ Bermudez. What's up, Julius Calloway? Milwaukee 49ers says, on a lighter note, the new uniforms come out next week. Thank God, man. We need something to break up this misery of injuries. I can't wait for that update on the jerseys. I'm gonna wake up early, and we know we're gonna finally see the damn jerseys on the 28th, man. We got a week, actually a week from today. New jerseys drop. Sky's the limit. Yeah, okay. What do you see we get return after trade? Brown to the Jets. What do we maybe? I'm not sure. Let's talk about a couple more news today. So we talked about Robbie Chosen. We did talk about Skyy Moore. There's some Jake Moody news on today. So John Lynch and Brent Boyer, special teams coordinator, both talked about Jake Moody. Let's talk about what John Lynch said about Jake Moody. He says, John Lynch on Jake Moody's big game against the Raiders. He says, Kyle Juszczyk came to me in the fourth quarter and said, wouldn't it be perfect for Moody to have a walk-off? At that point, we thought it would be a tie. Juice called his shot, and that was really cool for Jake. The reaction of our team tells you the guys believe in Jake Moody. The guy's been through a little bit. He's done a great job moving forward. So, John acknowledged he's been through some adversity, but Moody has pushed forward, and the team really has rallied around him. And that's what John Lynch is saying, that, hey, this team really respects, Jake Moody. They know he's been through a lot, but they're going to support him in every way they can. All right. He also said, we had Greg Joseph in here, and there actually was a great competition. He says, I thought it made Moody better. He had a really, really good camp. So they also says that Greg Joseph, John Lynch feels like Greg Joseph and the competition they had made Jake Moody better. So that's what John Lynch said. And then Brent Boyer today, this was a freaking crazy. I couldn't believe he said this. This is what Brent Boyer said on Jake Moody and his 59-yard game winner. He says, it could change his career. I think he showed a lot of character in that moment to bounce back. He says that kick right there might be a career-changing kick. And then he goes and misses 2 kicks in practice today. But Brent Boyer put a lot of trust in him. I think he's, earned that trust. Jake Moody's earned the trust, right? They came in, they had Greg Joseph. They gave Jake Moody the job. Obviously, there was injuries. You can't keep 2 kickers. But they like him. They're giving him a lot of confidence. I think he's, boosted himself up with that kick. But we got to see him continue to kick good in the regular games. That's just one preseason game. Let's see if he can continue to do it. But it's interesting to hear, that Brent Boyer said that one kick could change his entire career. Unbelievable. We heard from Trent Williams today. He says that Christian McCaffrey looks fantastic. He looks like the offensive player of the year, Christian. So he looks like he was about 2 years ago. If you've been to training camp, he really does. He looks fantastic, man. He looks really, really, really sharp out there. His bounce is back. So that was definitely nice to hear. So you want to hear some more amazing 49ers roster news? Like, it's musical chairs. This was absolutely comedy to me. When I saw this news update, I was like, I was busy today. So I was a little late on some of these updates. I was busy with some patients. And then I come back to my phone and I see that the 49ers, they brought back Tanner Mordecai. He was cut a few weeks. He was waived last week, right? They brought back Tanner Mordecai, and he replaced Nate Sudfeld that was just signed on Monday. They released Nate Sudfeld today. They replaced him with Tanner Mordecai, who they just released last week. You can't make this stuff up. Tanner Mordecai back in the Niners. Nate Sudfeld, after being brought back on Monday, he gone. That's crazy. I couldn't believe it. Couldn't believe it. I said, what are you doing? Get rid of Mordecai, and you bring in Nate, and then you get rid of Nate, and then you bring back Tanner Mordecai. Maybe Tanner Mordecai was more up to speed with the play, but maybe he understood it more. Maybe they saw Nate Sudfeld this week, and they're like, oh, God. Oh, no. Must have been that bad at practice if they cut Nate Sudfeld after just bringing him back Monday. So that's crazy. That is crazy. Danny says, Christian McCaffrey definitely looks like he's been doing squats. He looks amazing. Rick says, how bad was Nate Sudfeld for him to be cut so quick and signing Tanner? Yeah, that's my question. Rob says they just needed Nate for the workout. Maybe, but then they signed him to the roster. And then they said they probably saw him practicing. They were like, oh, yeah, you know what? The tryout was enough for you. Have a great time, Nate. We're bringing back Tanner Mordecai. You can't make this stuff up, man. You can't make this stuff up. Watch next week. Mordecai's going to get cut. Someone else will get cut. Well, next week, man, you can't just be cut and brought back like that anymore, because next week is the final roster cut down. After this game on Saturday, we got to make our rosters complete. So interesting stuff coming up. Now, this was cool news, big news. Obviously, it's going to be the Chargers and the Niners. We've been talking about Jim Harbaugh and all these other players and people that are on the Chargers that used to be on the Niners, like the LA Chargers, are more like the LA 49ers. They got Jim Harbaugh, Trey Lance, Greg Roman, Will Tukuafu, and Navarro Bowman on that team. They're all former Niners. Today, Jim Harbaugh named Trey Lance, the starting quarterback for the preseason finale. Now, obviously, he's not the quarterback to start their season. That would be Justin Herbert. But it's interesting to note that Trey Lance will start against the 49ers. This is Trey Lance's revenge game, preseason, for all the marbles for Trey Lance. I'm sure he wants to go out there and have a good game against the 49ers. Now, I really, 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 really wish that Mac Jones was not hurt. I really wanted to see Mac Jones versus Trey Lance preseason week 3 for all the marble. I mean, that 2022 draft discourse was unbelievable. The Mac Jones truthers, the Trey Lance truthers, like it was, that was one of the craziest off seasons of all time, guys. That was one of the craziest off seasons of all time. It was so wild, man. So wild. And the 49ers and, getting Mac Jones and then Trey Lance and, man, everybody was like, don't get Mac Jones. The 49ers were, fans were saying, get Justin. I just wish we could have saw Mac Jones versus Trey Lance, man. Unbelievable. And Jim Harbaugh is returning to the Bay, man, as a coach on the other side of the field. Like that, it's going to be crazy to see Jim Harbaugh on the other side and to see Trey Lance on the field against the 49ers as a member of the Chargers. Now, I know he played here and he came back as a member of the Cowboys, but this is different. This is with Harbaugh, and he's looked a lot better this preseason, so it's going to be interesting. I just really wish we would have got to see Mac Jones, Trey Lance. That would have been fun. So 2021, sorry, not the 2022 offseason. Yeah, you're right. It was the 2021 offseason. You're right, MSQ. The discourse was crazy. It was so wild that year. Justin Fields, right? Justin Fields at 3. No, Trey at 3. No Mac Jones at 3 no matter what. It was just crazy. Then people started thinking maybe the 49ers somehow can get Zach Wilson. And then people are like, what if they trade from 3 to 1 and get Trevor Lawrence? Like there was crazy theories. There was crazy people saying crazy things. And then, you had I better not be Mac Jones. And then the Niner fans went absolutely crazy when it was Trey Lance and not Mac Jones. And it was wild, man. That was a crazy night, draft day. It was a crazy couple of months. Just would have loved to see them go head to head for once. I mean, I know it's preseason. Regardless if it was preseason, I think Trey Lance versus Mac Jones would have fed families, even though it was just preseason. So, will Jim still be wearing khakis? I'm pretty sure he will be, Rick. Julius, his final 53 is next week. Yeah, after the game Saturday, better start getting it down. I think the 26th is the final day for roster cut. You have to have your rosters finalized on the 26th. So Trey is probably the best position for him right now. I think he's in a good position too. I think this is the best, opportunity he has. He has a good coach in Harbaugh who's going to make him have confidence and bring the best out of the young man. And, he's needed development over the years. Just wasn't ready with the Niners, and he was put in a tough position. And the injuries didn't help him. The fan base was crazy because we had quarterback drama, and people liked Jimmy at the time. People loved him, and it was hard to give up on him for a lot of fans. And then they didn't want to accept Trey. And then he was young, and then he got injured, and then they said he's a bust. And then Brock Purdy came, and crazy times. Same day as the nightly live with Krug. Yeah, it's gonna be a good one. We're gonna have a lot to talk about next Tuesday with Krug. Gonna be stuff. Gonna be good stuff. Tuesday is Doomsday. Yeah, I know. It's gonna be wild, man. It's gonna be absolutely crazy to see everything that goes down. So I'm interested. I can't wait to see who gets cut, who doesn't get cut, who makes this roster. You got to play the roster politics. Then you also got to see. You got to cut the right guys, because if the wrong guys get cut, then, they're going to get claimed, and the 49ers want to keep the people they want to keep and get certain people on the practice squad. So it's going to be interesting. So Renee says, who do we have as a backup for Moody? Should he get hurt? Well, we don't really have a backup. We have Thomas Morstead. He's our punter. So in a pinch, if it's a game situation, you're going to probably have to maybe rely on your punter. Maybe Kyle Juszczyk could come in and kick if he needs to, because he's a utility guy. He's a little bit of everything. But honestly, if Jake Moody gets hurt in a game, they'd probably try to finish it out with Thomas Morstead. And then after the game, they'd have to determine the severity. And if he's going to miss time, they'd go sign another kicker, just like they did last year. They signed 2 kickers and, until Jake Moody came back. But the first kicker they signed, he got hurt. So they had to sign another kicker. That was crazy last year. So that's just that's the 49ers. Everybody gets hurt. So, California Man says, I hope Sebastian Valdez makes the roster. I do too. I hope Sebastian Valdez makes the roster. He's a really good player. I feel like if he's one of those guys, if you waive him, he's getting claimed and you're not bringing him back on the practice squad. So I think they need to keep him. He's done enough to me, in my opinion, to show that he's worthy of this 53-man roster. Looked good in camp. He's looked good in preseason. He just looks really strong, and he has a lot of potential. I feel like if he gets snagged up, he'll go somewhere and he'll be a good player. So let's see. Is there any other news other than what we went over? I think we covered it all. Oh no, I missed this one. I missed one right here. There was another story I forgot to talk about. Obviously, we talked about Skyy Moore is officially a Niner. There's 2 more stories I didn't mention. Well, let's talk about those. So the 49ers actually placed cornerback Trey Brown on the injured reserve. And this opened up the roster spot for Skyy Moore. This is actually big news. The fact that Trey Brown is on the injured reserve tells you everything you need to know. A lot of people were saying he's going to make this 53-man roster. They paid him a lot of money. I remember a couple of days ago on Tuesday, Larry Krueger said, I'm pretty sure Trey Brown's making the roster. He's got a guaranteed $500K. I said, he's going to enjoy the $500K. He's not making the roster. And guess what? Trey Brown, you're on the injured reserve. He's not making the roster. I was right. Larry was wrong. Love that for me. Trey Brown, he's going to be not on the team on the 53. He'll be on the injured reserve. That means Chase Lucas is definitely making this roster. Chase Lucas, Upton Stout, maybe Jacob Robinson. That's probably what's going to happen. You're going to have Renardo Green, Dion Lenore. You're going to have Upton Stout. You're going to have Chase Lucas, and probably Jacob Robinson. Maybe Darrell Luter. That's like the guy that's battling with Jacob Robinson. We'll see how it goes. This last preseason game, there's a lot of chips on the table for Jacob Robinson and Darrell Luter to go at it, battle one mano y mano. Who's going to be the better player? I hope it's Jacob Robinson. That's a good player. He's been really sharp in camp and preseason, and he's got a lot of high upside. I feel like Darrell Luter, you can waive him and he won't get claimed. Now, if he does, more power to him. But I did not think Trey Brown was good enough to make the roster. He had sliding down the depth chart. He didn't look good in training camp. He did not look good at all this preseason. So unfortunately for him, he's on the injured reserve, and they had to do that in order to allow Skyy Moore to make the roster. So when you're getting placed on the injured reserve to make a spot for a guy, you're not making the 53-man roster. So Larry, he's wrong. I can't wait to tell him how wrong he was, but I digress. The other move, Larry would be absolutely excited about this one. Corey Kiner has reverted back to the Niners injured reserve. He cleared waivers. He was not claimed on the waivers. Nobody picked him up. So he reverts back to the team's injured reserve. That's pretty good news for Corey Kiner. I like him. And maybe in a couple of weeks when he's healthy, he could be on the roster and maybe he gets called up. For now, you keep him, stash him, place him on the injured reserve. And in a pinch, if you need him, maybe you can get him ready, get him cleared off the injured reserve, get him back to practice, and you can maybe utilize him down the line. But it looks like the 49ers are not losing this guy. He's going to stick around for a little bit. And, hey, even if he doesn't play this year and it's like a redshirt year, you'll have him. You could probably keep him this offseason or next offseason and hope that he can get on this roster somehow. But they still have him around. He's reverted to the injured reserve. Now, if they reach an injury settlement and release him, that's another thing they could do. But for the moment, looks like the 49ers still have Corey Kiner, and I think that's good. I like the guy, and let him rehab, and hopefully he can come back and somehow make this roster. So Mario says, how's Papa doing? I don't know. I haven't heard any updates on Greg Papa. I hope he's doing really good and battling, and we'll see. I'm sure we'll get some updates soon because this is the last preseason game. We need to figure out who's going to be calling the games. Are they still going to let, Haberman? Is it going to still be Habs, or are they going to go somewhere else? We don't know. So it's a good question. I'm sure we'll figure out what happens with Greg Papa soon. But in the meantime, Guy Haberman is still going to be calling the game this week. and then we'll figure it out from there. But hopefully Greg Papa's doing well, man. Good dude, an amazing guy. Met him a couple times. Such a fantastic guy. I wish nothing but the best for Greg and his battle. So I think that's everything. So Corey Kiner reverted back to injury reserve. Trey Brown, he gone. Those were the last two stories I forgot to mention, and now we did. That's pretty much it. That's the recap of the day. I said there's a lot to get to. There's a lot of news. KMBR, when John Lynch was on there, it's always good information. There's a lot of insight he gives on this team. He kind of keeps it 100. He just straight shoots. Some people don't like to believe what John Lynch says, but he tells it like it is. So I feel like he doesn't really riffraff us. Kyle, on the other hand, I feel like sometimes he gives us a lot of riffraff. So I like when John speaks to the media on KNBR. Keeps it straight shooter. Now, sometimes when Kyle talks to KNBR and it's just like injuries, he's pretty straightforward with it. But, when he's up on that podium and the media asks him stuff, I don't know how truthful he is when he's talking about those injuries. So I take it with a grain of salt sometimes. But there you go. That's the news for today. Let's see if you have any other questions out there. Renee says, are you going to watch the Steelers and Panthers game? It's on now. Yeah, I'm going to turn it on right now that we're done with this stream. Rick G says, I saw Trey Brown on IR. Does that mean Lucas or Luter for the 53? Yeah, so I just mentioned that. I definitely think that Lucas he's a lock. That's absolute lock. But the position battle, Rick, is going to be Darrell Luter versus Jacob Robinson, the undrafted kid out of BYU. Like, I think that right there is going to be your final cornerback spot, because I think Renardo Green makes it, Giamma Lenore makes it, Upton Stout, and Chase Lucas. Those four, in my opinion, are absolute stone cold locks. Now, if they get a fifth cornerback, it's going to either be Jacob Robinson or Darrell Luter. And the best player that plays on Saturday probably makes the roster. It's been pretty close. Honestly, Darrell Luter, I'm not the biggest fan of him, but he's had some moments in games and training camp. Jacob Robinson has just played out of his mind during training camp and in the preseason. And I feel like he's had to work a little harder because, of course, he's an undrafted guy, so he's got to prove himself more. Darrell Luter, for whatever reason, I mean, he's got the traits. He has talent. He looks like a good cornerback, but he doesn't always make the plays. And I think the 49ers, though, they like him because he was a draft pick. You don't want to just burn a draft pick like that. So they're going to give him every opportunity he can to make that roster. But Jacob Robinson is breathing down his throat, breathing down his neck, and I think it's going to be a close call there. So the battle to me, again, is Jacob Robinson versus Darrell Luter. So, yeah. Tuesday is the day to choose who stays on the roster. To choose who stays, man. MSQ. That was a little bit of a pun, huh? Julius Calloway says, not football related, but thoughts on the Jake Paul versus Tank Davis fight in November. Boxing is ridiculous. That's a money grab, man. Boxing's all money grab. Both those guys are going to get paid. It's going to be a silly fight, and it's going to be a silly outcome, and people are going to be outraged. Boxing's ridiculous, man. It's not like it used to be. Boxing used to be a great sport, and now it's bad. It's bad. I don't know. I feel like boxing is definitely rigged. It's like entertainment, sports entertainment. I feel like it's not really, I don't know, man. I'm not the biggest fan, but freaking Jake Paul, man, I can't with that guy. And that right there should do it. Any other questions? We'll see 1 or 2 more questions there. I'll take it in for a day. I'm going to go watch this preseason game. That's pretty much it. I don't think I missed anything. I think those were all the stories. Let me double check here. It definitely was a big day in 49ers news, but it's always a big day in 49er land. Let's see. Oh, this was a nice little note from Matt Barrows. He went through his practice notes. He gave us some tidbits. So this right here, keep an eye on this. This is the last thing we'll talk about. So 49ers safeties, Marquise Siegel, Jason Pinnock, and Jair Brown. They rotated with the first string defense today in practice. This is the last practice before the last preseason game of the season. You had Marquise Siegel, Jason Pinnock, and Jair Brown rotating with the first team defense, okay? Pinnock and Siegel were getting the most snaps. They were the ones playing the most snaps with the first team defense. Why is this significant? It's probably a signal that Marquise Siegel, your rookie, is going to be a starting safety. I know Jason Pinnock is. I think it's going to be Pinnock and Siegel. Jair Brown might get some, he might rotate a little bit here and there, but it's kind of tough for Jair Brown. This guy's supposed to have, all this potential. He was second-round pick. He was like our first pick a couple years back, as we didn't have a first-round pick. A lot of potential there. Everybody thought he was going to be this great player. He had a pretty good rookie season, I feel. And then second year last year was abysmal, and he just hasn't looked good. And it tells me that he's probably not going to start, and he might be a guy that they could trade, and he's expendable. They might throw him in a package in a trade if they need to. So he doesn't have too much value, but if you package him with the draft pick, maybe you can get something for him in return, a wide receiver or a draft pick or whatever. And it tells me that Marquise Siegel, man, this guy's going to be a really solid player. He looks like he could be a gem. And Jason Pinnock, could be a really good offseason signing. I know Robert Saleh likes him, and I think he's going to be a very aggressive player for us. He's going to blitz a lot. He was the best blitzing safety in the NFL last year, so that's going to add another element to this defense. But yeah, Jair Brown, man, not looking good for him. The future's not looking too good for him, but unfortunately, he came into this training camp this year and the offseason after knee surgery. He was recovering from a knee operation. He just hasn't looked good. He looks clunky. He looks slow. He's not a playmaker that I thought he was going to be. He looked good in college, man. He was a playmaker. He was a captain at Penn State. Good player, but he just hasn't translated to the pros, man. So are they rotating at both safety spots or just one? No, they're probably just they didn't specify. But that's it. That's it for today. You guys have a good rest of your day. We'll be back later if there's more breaking news, right, Julius? Right? You see me later? As soon as I say we'll be back, if there's more breaking news, we're going to have some breaking news. You guys have a great rest of your day. Love ya. Go Niners.